Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Bommer number LB4312-400-6, pardon me, LB4312-400-332. The 332 is the part that tripped me up. It's a 4x4 single acting spring hinge, full mortise, residential weight, lube bearing, steel base, bright brass plated, clear coated, not polished. We'll go over that in a moment. LB stands for lube bearing. It's a maintenance-free bearing construction, a proprietary system with Bommer. The 4312 is a reference to the hinge dimensionally, meaning its relationship to itself, meaning it's a 5/8 radius and that it's a template pattern on the screw holes. Okay, the 400 means that it is a 4x4 hinge. The height is the first dimension on a hinge like this. You want to be sure to call it out as the height, 4 inch by 4 inch. The 332 is that reference to the bright brass plated on steel. There's a magnet. Clear coated. Not polished. So this is more like a gold color. It'd be closer to gold than brass. So it's a bright gold or a bright brass with a clear coat rather than doing a polished brass sort of plating onto steel. There's an inherent difference. This shines more like gold, like you would see in shiny gold weather stripping, bright dipped gold weather stripping. So that's the difference with that. This is a spring hinge. It's a full mortise spring hinge. You can see from the swag on the hinge leaf there that when the leaves are brought parallel, they're intended to be mortised flush to the edge of the door and frame. It's a full mortise hinge. Spring hinge like this, single acting spring hinge, completely reversible, left hand or right hand doors. You're going to use this in residential applications. Where you need to have the 5/8 radius is a giveaway for residential applications. 4 inch, that would work on 1 3/4 thick doors. Not really appropriate for 1 3/8 doors. You'd want a 3.5 for that thickness of door. Template pattern on the screw holes. Speaking of that, screws are included in a complementary finish. So you'll use this on a door, a front door of a house, more commonly on a garage door where it is typically fire rated. Fire rated doors need to be both self-closing and self-latching. A spring hinge does comply with that sort of need. Now, there is a link below this video to the template, and that template calls out everything important dimensionally about the hinge, what we've gone over, with the exception is that this is 96 thousandths of an inch thick in the leaf. That's typical for residential thickness. Okay. Location of the screw hole, so you can compare that against what you have to determine whether or not it's appropriate for what you need. There's another link below here to certifications and hinge guide. That's important because it gives all of the size requirements of what you're dealing with and how many hinges. That data is also listed and in the extended description below this video. So let's go over that now. Then we'll talk about how to adjust the tension on the spring hinge. So what Bommer is saying is with a 4x4 hinge, if you've got an 85-pound door or up to that, 2 spring hinges and 1 regular hinge. This is compatible. The axis of pivoting is compatible with typical 4x4 hinges. And if your door is about 110 pounds, go with all 3 spring hinges. Now, I'm a fan of all spring hinges every single time. Well, why? Well, first of all, they're relatively inexpensive. But I have found over the course of an installation, I have found over having to adjust spring hinges over different times of the year, different seasons, windows, doors open, etc., etc. When you are underpowered with your spring hinge, it might work okay, in the winter. And then you come back in the summer and the thing doesn't even start to close the door because of different pressure conditions. The amount of stored energy in a spring is really good, when the door is open at 90 degrees. It'll get the door moving through the closing cycle. But the residual energy, when the door is near closing is all but spent. And if you don't have enough stored energy in ample quantity of springs, you won't be able to get that door latched, closed all the way, and then of course latched as well. And that's the key, because if you're using this on a fire-rated door, it'll need to be self-closing and self-latching, and any inspector involved, and it's likely that there wouldn't be in a remodel or or a private a change to what you're working on. But nonetheless, building code is quite clear about it. You want your fire doors to latch, and they can't latch if they're not closed. So I have found when I use more spring hinges, I've got enough stored residual energy remaining in the spring hinges, stored energy, so that I don't have to crank the spring up so tight to get the door moving fast enough just to overcome all the air pressure, overcome the friction of the latch striking the strike plate to get it to latch. You crank it up too much, you slam the door, and then it bounces back open. You crank it up too much and you break the spring, sort of situation. So word to the wise, you could add one later if you found that you needed it. I have found when I got all spring hinges, I can control that door much better. Springs aren't really my favored way to close a door. Hydraulic control over a door is the preferred way, but hydraulic control is not appropriate in a lot of applications. So lots of spring hinges, the better off you are. Now, setting the tension. With a Bommer spring hinge, you're going to get a tension rod, and you're going to get a tension pin, which is that silver pin that's there. This order has two of them because there are two spring hinges on the order. So you simply insert the tension rod. I poked it out of the bag. Tension collar up, regardless of the hand of the door. Insert the tension rod into one of the holes in the tension collar, and then you rotate it clockwise. And you can see where you reveal additional holes as you do that. You insert one of the pins into that hole. Bommer wants to have no more than 3 holes set. Okay, you don't want to break the hinge, it's not repairable. And that's it. You'll obviously install the hinge with no tension set, get it screwed on, close your door, start setting tension. Be conservative, go slow, test it, work it, etc. I like my spring hinges up at the top. That's where its ability, in my experience, is most effective to do the job. Top, middle, bottom sort of situation. Available in several different finishes as well, all the common finishes and the less common ones like this. And Bommer is a manufacturer that makes a full complement of these spring hinges, different template patterns, different sizes, different corner treatments, etc. The last thing I'd like to point out to you would be the Bommer logo. Right above it there, it says Made in USA, a fact that Bommer is quite proud of, and it's hard to see that. A fact that Bommer is quite proud of, as am I to be a distributor of theirs. Any questions on the Bommer number LB4312-400-332 or any other Bommer product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you very much.